Tarfin is one of the Turkish company that we have come across while we are researching on the LinkedIn. So, basically from the value chain perspective, when farmers need the inputs, they usually take it on credit from the input retailers, and they then pay it back after their harvest usually. So basically this comes at a lot of cost, like it takes a lot of cost. The cost of financing is very high. They give inputs for the the credit cost is very high for the farmers. So in this scenario, the Tarfin has come up with an new value chain of financing innovation. I think you will find it interesting to look into how they are trying to bridge this gap between the for the farmers for financing their inputs. So basically they formed they created an application where the retailers can register on their application with all the inputs that they have. So now the farmers can look into the application and then see what their local input retailers are giving. So in this scenario, they can also check the prices as well. What is the specific retailer is giving and the other retailer is giving at what price, at what product. So this brings the transparency into the pricing. So this will provide the fairly priced inputs from the retailers for the farmers. And then the Tarfin, because of this partnership, so the farmers find out the retailers through the app, and then when you go through the app, you will go to the nearest input retailer point and then collect your inputs there. So now the cash needs for the input retailer will be taken care of by the Tarfin. So the value proposition is these two major points, like providing fairly priced inputs and then giving the better or delayed payment terms to the farmers. And then so this is the nature of differentiation. We usually, I think maybe some of you must have gone through our courses. This is the business model analysis that we do, which covers 4 elements, which is value proposition, and then we do the distribution partnerships, and then complementary partnerships, and then sustainability components. These are the 4 elements we check for any business while we are doing it. You will go through them, and I think you will master it as you go forward. So this is the nature of differentiation that they are offering right now. So the farmers are getting the low-cost credit on inputs, and then while Tarfin is providing the finance through this, maybe they are not providing finance directly to the hands of the farmers. They are providing inputs on credit, but at the lower price, because now the input retailers are not financing the product. It is the Tarfin which is providing the finance. So now so the Tarfin, as it is a digital platform, so it is also doing credit scoring techniques, and it is also leveraging the retailers' experience as well, because they know what farms are, and by their interaction they would know what the farmer will be, whether he will pay back or not. So there is always a risk of non-payment as well. So this credit scoring becomes very important. And also maybe retailer by himself may not do these things. So it is kind of a complementary partnership that they are doing, because and then as I have explained before, the input retailers are complementary because they are depending on each other. Tarfin is depending on leveraging the experience of the retailer, and the retailer is taking the help of the Tarfin to credit scoring methods and everything like that. So now the another thing is how Tarfin is raising money for this. So they basically they are basically not going through the usual route. They're creating asset-backed securities, which they will sell those. They are making securities out of the credit sales that the retailers have done. They are taking that as an asset and then making some securities, and they are selling, offering those securities to investors, and they are raising the cash. That's how they are doing. I think this is one of the uh, mm, I don't know, maybe there are different methods of raising money. Some people some businesses will do as they want. This is one of the method I didn't come across before, but this is I think this is also uh, mm, this also helps to raise the cash. And then distribution strategy is I have explained before. The farmer has to just download the application and ask for the fertilizers, and then they can go to the nearest retailer and take those payments. And so the sustainability components are reduction of costs, because input costs will come down because of the transparency, and also there will be the low cost of financing, and the farmers' welfare is one of the sustainability components. So this is how Tarfin is intervening in the value chain to bring out some change in the financing of the value chain. I hope you guys have found it useful. If you have any questions, you can. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, interesting, Pawan. Keep it on, Pawan.
Yeah, yeah.
Keep the presentation on. Interesting. So, if anyone wants to go with any questions,
Hey, Pavan, Astra here. I actually have a small question. Can you explain that bit where you talked about credit systems, how retailers pay and how farmers pay? I kind of couldn't catch that point.
The farmer creates a request, the input retailers, they will register themselves on the app. So the farmer finds them, downloads the app and finds them on his mobile, and then create a request for the
Yeah,
fertilizer
okay.
or inputs,
Okay.
and then and then uh, they will also select the retailer on the app itself where they are going to buy. So
Okay.
they can go to that retailer and then say, I have registered on the app. So the retailer will just give the inputs. He wouldn't take any cash from the farmer, because Tarfin is providing. They will go to the Tarfin for the cash for these inputs that they are providing.
Okay, so the farmers can just take it away for free, is it?
Yeah, farmers can take it away for free for now. They have to repay after the harvest. They have to
Okay.
repay after the harvest to the same retailer where they have picked up the inputs.
Okay, so see, so actually, I'm sorry, I kind of am. So I also, so you told that the retailers will take the money from Tafel as well, like immediately after they give away the order to the farmers, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe immediately or not. They will. This is the kind of
No, I
request.
mean, okay, so I was just thinking how retailers are getting paid twice from Tarfin as well as from the farmers.
It's not like they will be repaid, because there will be working capital constraints, right? Uh,
Yeah, okay.
so those constraints will be that gap will be filled. Like if farmer doesn't repay, then they will
Okay.
be repaid by the Tarfin. Yeah.
Okay, so does farmer have, is it like zero credit facility for farmer?
Mm, Zero credit in the sense.
As in, like, if I'm taking, let's say, something worth of 100 rupees, and I might charge some interest later on the price late when I'm repaying it back,
Yeah, yeah.
or is
If
it
you are, yeah, yeah. When you are repaying, you have to pay a little bit more price than what you have taken, but
okay?
cost will be very less than just taking directly from the retailer.
Okay, okay. So, so if a farmer in Turkey can avail it from any retailer, right? It's not like in his area who all are the retailers available. It's like that. Is it like that?
Uh,
Um,
they can take from any retailer. but if they go through the retailers who are registered on the Tarfin, they
Okay.
are going to get the low cost credit.
Okay. So, okay.
Okay, let me try and explain you the core value proposition here, Asra. So generally, what you do as a farmer is you go to the nearest retailer, and you have to take the products and the terms that they offer. So you don't know. Even if they're offering credit, the credit terms will be higher because from a retailer's perspective, they don't have enough data about the farmer from a repaying point of view. I mean, they don't have any structured data, so they see them as high risk, or even they see them as the farmer doesn't have any other option other than taking whatever terms they offer. So that's the challenge. The challenge is for the retailer, they don't know the credit worthiness and the actual rate of interest they can charge for the inputs that they're giving on credit, right? So
Okay.
now, because of this platform, what happens is the farmer has exposure to more retailers. It can be the retailer that is closest to him, but also it can be retailers that are a little bit further away from him or her, right? So he
Okay.
has the full visibility. So he will say that, okay, if I buy from this retailer, I will get it at this price, but if I go 10 miles further, I'll get it at this price. So I can choose, I can pick and choose, right? So that's the part. And then for them, they will know if I take it on credit, what is the money I have to pay back, because the credit rating will tell you. For example, if I go and ask a bank for a loan, based on my credit rating, they will give me the interest rate, so to speak, right?
Okay.
So based on the credit rating, if you are taking 100 units of money as credit, for a farmer A, they may have to pay back 105, and for farmer B, that could be 110, and for farmer C, that could be 120 because of their credit rating, so to speak. I'm assuming here, I don't know, but that's how they use the credit rating. And for some farmers, they would say that, hey, we can't offer you credit on credit, so you have to pay and take. So so the moment uh, the farmer uh, takes the terms that are offered by the platform, the retailer knows. So the retailer will know whether the farmer has to pay the money and collect the inputs, or the retailer can just give away the inputs. I'm guessing again here, because again, even Pawan doesn't know the whole story, because we have not spoken to the founders. We will at some stage, I guess. But so the intervention there, so it's similar to produce pay, isn't it, Pawan? Basically, the retailers doesn't have to finance the farmers. It's basically it's the platform that is financing the farmers, and which means the retailers get paid fast, so that they can offer it at the better prices, and they don't have to create a lot of sort of working capital for themselves, and the farmers do not have to pay high interest rates, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of the win-win here. Now the distribution strategy, is that clear, Asra? Does it make sense now?
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. I
Yeah.
understand.
So the inefficiency is basically the access is limited, and so here they are basically solving the information challenge, because most of the times when you have more data, your credit will look very different, right? For example, if you have data related to based on the crop that the farmer sows, the region where he or she comes from, the type of market access they can get based on what they produce and where they come from. Based on that, your credit scoring is very different than if you're doing another crop in another region in another market condition, for example, right? So that's the point they are looking at. They're looking at what is the risk of the farmers produce failing from a production point of view and from a market point of view, and that's the value chain financing basically, right? So they look at that element, so that with their technology they're able to assess that better than a retailer can assess, for example, right? Yes, Asra?
Yeah, got it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's some network issues I'm unable to.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. It's a great
Okay.
question, by the way, but it helps. But Pavan, how are they onboarding? The distribution strategy is all about onboarding your customers. So in this case, their customers are farmers, isn't it? Basically, their core customers are farmers, because the retailers come onto their platform because the farmers are coming onto their platform, isn't it? So the core target is the customers, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, Vijay. Yeah.
Yeah, you go to your value proposition matrix. Yes. Uh, so target segment, farmers, right? So that's the key. Almost always you should start this matrix with this target segment, and you have to define it much more sharply. And in this case, I think smallholder farmers who require inputs on credit, for example, something like that. So that's how you kind of define it. So now the distribution strategy has to address around how you get your target segment into the onto your solution, in this case this, right? So how does that get addressed, Pawan, if you go back to your distribution strategy?
Uh, I don't know, but I think the retailers will tell the farmers, like if mostly the retailers, if they find some farmer risky, but even then, if they want to do the business, they will I think they will say download the Tarfin and ask for the request, something like that maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they will do that with the risky customers that they can't trust enough. I think so.
Hmm. So basically, it's the Tarfin model is to um, so they're getting to their customers through retailers, I guess. So they will onboard the retailers, and the retailers have an incentive to onboard all their farmers uh, onto the Tarfin. I guess that should be the model, isn't it? I mean, in the initial stages. And later stages, the farmers are telling each other that, hey, you know what, get onto the Tarfin, and you can choose the retailer you want, kind of, right? So over time, I guess that would be how it works. But I think to start with, because it's a solution that is beneficial to retailers as well. I mean, I don't know whether it is beneficial to them, because sometimes their farmers can go to a competitive retailer, right, so to speak, because they are on the platform. So I doubt if having retailers would automatically guarantee the retailers onboarding the farmers. Possibly, if I am a retailer, I would come onto the Tarfin platform if I can get new customers. I might not be interested in giving away my existing customers to you. So, which means if everybody is thinking in that way, then nobody is giving any customers to you, right? So, which means it has to be onboarding the farmers directly, isn't it?
Yeah. I think retailers are also they will not give credit to somebody who is uh, uh, they also know the farmers well. I think only who have a large holding, maybe they will give the inputs on credit, and some small holders, they will always think before giving anything. Or sometimes they may think like, I will only give to you if you provide me the cash right now. Yeah, there is no clear incentive, I think. Yeah, even for that to tell
No,
that.
in
Yes.
fact, there is a loss for them if they onboard their farmers, because they come onto the platform. So because the if you look at the retailers, they do make significant arbitrage with the lack of information. They hold their customers because they don't have other options, and so on and so forth, right? If a farmer doesn't have other option, his or her vulnerability with a retailer will be higher, and that's what the retailer wants. So in essence, every retailer would want other retailers customers, but they don't want their customers to go to other retailers, right? So that's kind of the model.
Yeah.
And if they are able to finance, if they're not able to finance, maybe there is some incentive. If they think that, oh, I'm the best retailer, I give best prices, I am very transparent, but I can't give finance, so then I have an incentive to bring all my farmers onto this platform because I know I can compete, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, otherwise I will be reluctant, and most retailers would be reluctant. Um, so I'm assuming that they should have a direct farmer onboarding strategy, because when farmers start buying, so a retailer would come onto this platform when they start seeing their farmers going to the platform, I guess.
Yeah. Another thing is that the people with whom they have raised money, it is Syngenta which is also providing the money for the Tarfin. So Syngenta must have some relationships with the retailers, and then trying to ask the retailers something like this to download the Tarfin and onboard the customers onto it and stuff like that. Maybe it is also
Mm,
pretty.
yeah, sure. I think the Syngentas can possibly influence the farmers a little bit more than the retailers, because I guess. Um, but I think the value proposition is strong for the farmer, isn't it? Like the farmer who was not credit worthy. So if you tell the farmer that, hey, uh, you don't have to worry, you will get your inputs if you're on my platform, right? At the best financing possible. I think it's a strong value proposition. For the same reason why we consider produce pay model very interesting, I guess this is also the same thing, right? And
Yeah.
maybe we should ask the question if they are financing 100% or maybe 80%, 70%, 90%, depending on their credit rating, for example, right? So to speak, and those kind of elements, I guess, right? Like in the produce pay, they only pay 70 or 60 or 80%, right, of the value of the deal they finance. But that is not input finance, right? It's more of the produce finance basically that they do. It's a slightly on the other side of the spectrum. But this is a very why I like this story. From the outside, it looked like the produce pay for inputs basically, right? So it's similar to that model.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Right, right. Interesting. Other questions? What if the farmer has a bad harvest due to the bad weather? Is the loan insured?
Yes.
So, Nelson has a lot of questions. So, let me take one after the other. Let's see. How do you avoid side selling, because the farmer can sell elsewhere and you will not get the loan back? No, I mean they are not interested in the produce, I guess. Uh, Nelson, they are interested in they going back and paying the funds on the platform. I am thinking that way, because it's not clear that they are interested in buying the produce. But then if the farmer doesn't pay back, then they will not get the loan again, right? So they can't get their inputs for the next season. So that's the risk of not paying. So the credit worthiness drops, right, in that sense, and that kind of stuff. Possibly they are having some buyers as well and the complementary partnerships. Pavan, do you know that? Do they have produce buyers and things like that? Are they collecting funds from the farmers, or are they collecting funds from their buyers of the farmers
Uh,
later on?
I didn't get
Or
the question.
later on, when they have
Yeah.
to repay, right?
Yeah.
When their produce is there, is the farmer paying them, or is there the farmer's off-taker paying them?
Okay. I think that was not clear. I don't say anything like that. I'm assuming that farmer will pay again at the at the time of the harvest.
Yeah, if it is a loan, that's how they're supposed to pay back, isn't it? So can you show me the partnerships? Maybe in the partnerships is where we will find some answers. Do they have somebody off takers as well, like for the produce, right? So is that so how the value chain financing generally works? I guess Pawan, maybe you should correct me if I'm wrong, is that there is a farmer and there is a buyer of produce, and whatever financing I'm giving to the farmer, I will collect it from the buyer subsequently, right? So that's not the only form of value chain financing, I guess, but that's possibly the most secured form of value chain financing, so to speak. But in this case, we don't know. Maybe we'll have to speak to these
Uh,
guys too.
I think off-taker will not come into this, right? Like they are financing the smallholders who doesn't have any collateral or anything to back up that they will repay. They are trying to finance those farmers with the inputs, smallholders, because the off-taker will come at the end at the other end of the value chain, not at the input side, right? So maybe the smallholder has to pay it back again.
Yeah, sure, but we don't know. I mean, the question is, it's still the risk is very high as long as the off-taker is not involved. It's not a value chain financing in that sense, right? So it's because
Yeah.
what if the farmer is not able to sell? What if the farmer is not able to get the produce? What if all those risk analysis becomes a bit easier, a bit more secured and assured, if the off taker is there, in the off takers are there in the system. So it's also good for farmers. I think, like you have input providers, I think that could be an extension of their solution. I think over time, as the farmers and the produce gets very interesting, so they could add a farmster like component, like we saw this Israeli technology, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
they
I
could
have
add.
that one. Shall I show it?
Yeah, you can show it. Yes. Oh, you're working on it already. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
You
Farmster.
finished.
Not much. There's nothing much it is like a marketplace,
Mm,
but they what they actually do is that so they will onboard the buyers onto the app, and
mm,
as well as the farmers onto the app, and the buyer can choose the produce that he want,
mm,
and the system will show where his produce is there, like in which village and which farmer, how much quantity and quality. Everything will be shown by the app as like this in the left side of the figure for
mm,
the buyer. So he can then call the agent, and it is just marketplace, no distribution, anything that will be provided by the farmster. After calling the agent and discussing with the farmer, they can just connect and do their things. The interesting element is how they are onboarding the farmers onto the app, as they are not too techy kind of a thing. They can't use the app and things like that. So they are directly using the uh, just normal phones, normal mobiles. The farmer can just send a SMS to
mm,
40446 to begin with, and then the AI-powered chat box will ask several questions. What is the quality? Not maybe not quality, maybe how much quantity
mm, mm.
of produce, which produce are you doing, at which region are you selling, and things like that. Then they will put this information onto the app so that the buyer can find them.
Interesting. So their
So
their phone number and their requests can be put on the platform without them accessing the platform. So that's the advantage.
yeah, that's the advantage. Yeah, with a
Interesting.
normal phone, they can just get the things done.
Mm,
Yeah,
So that's the added value. So it's for
yeah,
really for very smallholder farmers that don't have access to professional market. So these buyers can be wholesalers, aggregators, or retailers, or anyone, right? So the buyers can be anyone, I guess.
Yeah, anyone. Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, so I think having such a component to this model, which Tarfin model, it would be very interesting, I guess, because then you are, because for you to say it's a value chain financing, you need to have value chain, right? So that to me is not value chain, because um, you may you may want to and to make sure that the market side risk is also covered, and market side risk is a big risk many a times, isn't it? So in that sense, we will, when we will talk, I think we'll get some answers to that. Is there a ceiling of how much credit amount a farm? I'm sure there must be some ceilings on that front. What is in it for Tarfin in this model? Is the support only for development support or business? I guess their revenue model is not clear, which is what we wanted to chat about. I guess possibly they get a cut on the interest. I guess, right? Is that, or maybe the retailers pay a small subscription fee. I mean, they can do different models, I guess, once the platform takes off, because the platform is up and running and a lot of activities happening. They can take a lot of steps, I guess, in terms of revenues. Yeah. So yeah. So Nelson, what if the farmer has a bad harvest due to bad weather? Is the loan insured? I think those are all questions that the founders can answer, I guess, right? So how are they ensuring? So do you have any answers to any of these questions differently from what I have given, Pawan?
Um,
Are you seeing the chat box? There's a chat going on, right? So
how much credit amount? But there is one clause that they have told, like uh, the cash can be the credit can be given not only by the Tarfin, but a retailer can also give credit from his own working capital if he wants. It, even if they come through Tarfin, if the retailer wants, he can give through their working capital as well. I didn't understand clearly how that
yeah,
works.
we need to talk to them only to understand. Yeah, those parts were also not clear to me. But I think most importantly, the agri input companies see this as a very interesting model, because then they are not, reduce their dependency on the retailers in that sense, right? So then they can be, the information is more transparent. They can have more control over the stocks. They can understand, so they can check that the retailers cannot sell more than what they have bought, sometimes because of adulteration and all those kind of things, a lot of those challenges. So there is a lot of value for the agri input companies in this model. So you talked about the revenue model. I guess that's why Syngenta is investing in this business. From a funding point of view, I was asking these questions myself, like why would these people invest? Because that data, that the retailers, so because the retail channel, the dealership channel as they call it, is a very important channel, right? So if you can get more visibility and more control over that part, then there is a lot of value for you in that sense. So the agri input companies have a lot of interest to finance, because many times agri input companies do finance agri inputs, right? I mean, we talked to Lorna about it, right, Pawan? So, but then this is a better way to ensure that those finances are going to the farmers, right, in the right way, the right terms, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And bad harvest due to bad, I'm sure in this kind of a platform, the insurance companies will enjoy funding agriculture through such platforms because that is the least risk sort of model, right? Like maybe there is scope mm, for farmers also to become smart, right? Like which crops, if they see that hey, certain crop has is consistently having better, because they're not crediting the farmer or their history, but they're crediting the farmers earning potential based on what they are planting, what they are how, where they are selling, and so on and so forth. So which means this is also a very good way of making the farmers becoming more market driven. So they will see that their neighbor who is doing uh, potatoes instead of cabbage, tomatoes instead of cabbage, might be getting better credit rating, right? And then they have an incentive to follow such thing based on it. So this platform is an AI powered platform, so which means it just tries and learns from the data that it has, but also the data that it will have going forward. So which means the credit rating is very dynamic and real time in nature in that sense, I guess. So all the platforms that are created to get weather data, all that data can be very useful input for such financing solutions. I mean, Chaitra was asking at the beginning of this session, how do you get good platforms uh, to financing providers? I would say that good platforms are not as valuable to the financing providers as they are to platforms like this that facilitate finance, right? So the finance providers can fund the value chain or the farmers through such platforms going forward. In fact, that's possibly the most efficient way to fund these things. Same with insurance providers as well. So here you can give insurance through these platforms to minimize your risk because you have better information and better this thing. And also you can look at reducing the risk based on the farmers practices, right? Like you can these days you can typically measure anything, isn't it? There's everything everywhere, all the satellites, drones, and all those models. Like the AgriCloud company that is also part of our mini MBA curriculum. So they have a very interesting solution to measure everything from a production productivity point of view. So that platform can connect very well to such a platform, isn't it? Right? Because once you have a platform which is onboarding the farmers very well, and that is a finance solution, then you can power such a finance solution with all your technologies and become like more uh, like a valuable engine uh, to the whole value chain, so to speak, right? So this is kind of interesting. We don't know how far these guys think, but we'll find out from them, talking to them. Interesting. Thank you so much, Pawan.